something that I say along the way will touch you. I know it. Let's begin that process of crafting a meaningful life.
Here's Mary Crafts.
Welcome to Crafting a Meaningful Life, and I'm your host, Mary Crafts. Every week we get to talk about what that looks like to craft a meaningful life. When I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s, I don't think I thought about it so much. I just thought about day-to-day stuff and how to take care of myself and my family. But as I began to get older, I realized that it wasn't just about day-to-day. There was this long-term piece, this legacy piece, this meaningful piece to my life. And I do this podcast every week because I want to be able to offer you a roadmap of how to get to that meaningful life. It became more important to me in my 50s and 60s, and now at 70. I hope to shout. It's about the only thing I think about. Is this leading me to a meaningful life? It's those questions I ask myself every day as I look through my calendar. What am I going to do today? What's on my list? The dreaded list. And what is going to create meaning for me and for others? As I think about my podcast every week, I look at the guests that have, signed up or on my list, and I only say yes to those who I think are going to add meaning to you. And when Ken reached out to me, I looked through his bio, I looked through his LinkedIn profile, I looked at his website, I looked at all the things that he's doing in his life, and I thought, this guy can add a meaningful discussion to what we're going to say today and to you for the long term. I think this is going to be so meaningful that you're going to want to star this podcast so you can come back to it. You can look at, all right, where was his website? Where's the book? Where do I get to connect with Ken? And he has a message that we're going to talk about today that I think has a lot of value to both of us. So welcome with me, Ken Rusk. Ken, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Mary. Thanks for having me. I think we'll have a fun day today.
We're going to have a fun day for sure. One of the things that really intrigued me as I read through your bio, because the first thing in your bio, it says, Ken started out as a ditch digger. And anybody who's reaching out to me to be on my podcast is no longer a ditch digger. Not that there's anything wrong with being a ditch digger. I love manual work. As you commented, as I was crawling in my space, you say, you don't look like you're 70. Well, that's because I've dug a lot of ditches in my life, okay? Literally and figuratively, I've done that. So tell me about your journey from being the ditch digger to where you are today. Let's talk about that.
Well, it's interesting. When I was younger, I had a lot of part-time jobs because my father, there was 5 boys in our house, a very small house in Amherst, Ohio, and we were all under the age of 9. And so he ran the place kind of like the Marines. Okay. He had to, because there was just too many of us to catch all at the same time. So whenever we wanted something, we lived very, very modestly. He worked as hard as he could, but that's a lot of mouths to feed back in the day. And so whenever we were wanting something more than he could afford to give us, he would say, well, go find a way to make money and go find a way to buy that thing or whatever, like a baseball glove or whatever it might have been. And so we had a lot of part-time jobs, and we were 12, 13, 14 years old. And then at 15, I thought, I want to get my first used car, so I needed to get a little more serious. And so there was my high school shared a fence with a industrial park, Mary, and we would cut through a hole in that fence to go to the carryout after school like kids did. And, there was always a lot of energy in these businesses that were in this industrial park, a lot of things that young kids liked. There was moving parts and pieces and trucks and equipment and just lots of guys milling around. And so I thought, well, let's find out what these guys do. Maybe I can get a job there. And I needed money for my first used car, take my girlfriend out for pizza, go bowling with my buddies, whatever. And so I said, hey, what do you guys do here? And they said, well, we dig ditches. And I said, well, I think I'm qualified to do that. So that's what I did. In the summertime, I dug ditches. In the wintertime, I worked in the office. And then, quickly, I got to learn both sides of the house, as they say. So when I was 18, it was either go to college or go into the workforce and
keep digging those ditches.
Yeah. So they came to me and said, look, you know both sides of the business, even though you're only 18. I want to open up a bunch of branch offices all around the Midwest. Are you
Ah,
interested in doing that? So, yeah, I lived out of a suitcase from the time I was 18 to the time I was 23, I guess, 22. And I opened up new offices, making mistakes with other people's money, right? All around Chicago and Pittsburgh and Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati. And then I got tired of travel and wanted to settle down. So moved to Toledo, Ohio, opened up my company with 6 people. That was 37 years ago. And now we're
wow.
up to about 200, and we do a bunch of other things. So it's been a hell of a ride.
I was born and raised in the Midwest, in Iowa, and moved out to Utah to go to school, and then never left. But there's nothing like having a small business, entrepreneur business in the Midwest, and then simply by hard work and commitment and grit to grow it to be so much more. That was my dad. And so I know that kind of person you're talking about, and honored to meet you.
It's interesting, Mary, because I think people don't quite understand sometimes that when you're working for yourself, you get to control a lot of things. You get to control your input and your output and the quality of that output. You get to control your pace, your day, your time, your schedule, and ultimately your financial gain. And you just don't get that in on the 15th floor in some cubicle selling
Yeah.
something you don't understand or how you fit into the world. And so there's a lot of what I call the stand back moment, where when you're doing something, whether you're building something or whatever, you get to stand back at the end of the day and kind of lean on your shovel and look back at that and go, wow, I created that with my own two hands. And that's going to stand the test of time, whether it's an outdoor kitchen or a beautiful stone fence with a gate or whatever it might
Mm.
be. And people just don't quite get that part of it. So I highly recommend it, especially now that nobody wants to do it anymore. It's making it even more lucrative these days. And for those young people out there just starting out, yeah, you should at least consider some of those pathways, because there's a lot of ways to be successful, and the college degree is just only one of them.
You know, I didn't realize that we had so much background together. Uh, starting out I went to school. I went to school in social work. I started in music, but then I lost my love of it because I had to study it. So I ended up
Yeah.
graduating in social work. But then when it came actually time to get in the workforce, I worked for the state in social work for 5 years and realized that was not my path. And then following in my dad's footsteps, I started my own company. But like you, I'm sure along the way, a lot of people asked you for advice. How do I start my own company? How should I do this? How did you get started? Did you have money? Did you get finance? How would you? And they say, but I don't even know if it's for me or not. I would always say the same thing. If you want a guaranteed paycheck on Friday and you want somebody to pay your insurance and you want a guaranteed road, entrepreneurship is not for you. But if you're willing to put the work in and put your nose on that grindstone and leave it there until it's bloody, okay? And then you have to find your own way and your own path. And maybe you don't take a vacation for the first little while, and maybe you are paid last. Then entrepreneurship could be for you. But those people who are looking for that easy way, as I see it now, it's not for them. They'll fail every time because they want a guarantee in life.
Whenever I talk about entrepreneurship, and like you, people will tell me, "Oh, you're lucky. You're one of those entrepreneur guys, right?" So I'll always say, "Okay, well, here's a piece of paper and a crayon. Draw entrepreneur for me." Okay,
Yeah.
you can't, because it's just a vague term that covers the success of a business or someone willing to take the risk. Really, entrepreneurship in my mind is a collection of about 9 different characteristics, right?
Ah.
Things like persistence and resilience and faith and courage, initiative, vision, generosity, all those types of things are inside what I call the entrepreneurship mindset. And what's great about that is I really believe that all of us have those characteristics within us. We just have to have a reason why for them to come out.
Ah,
I mean, if you don't start with a very strong why, then entrepreneurship isn't for you,
right.
because the people who want to take a safe route, they're the ones that kind of live under, I'm going to wait for life to happen to me rather
Right.
than me happening to life. And so I think that's the big difference. There's a risk in saying, I want to control my own life. I want to happen to life. I don't want to live an if then life. I want to
Yeah.
start with the then, figure out what that is first, and then find a way to get there. And I think that's the big difference between entrepreneurship and again, there's nothing to say that a corporate job is, I mean, it's very safe, it's very secure, and some people fit well into
Yeah.
that piece. But I don't know that you can find another way to anticipate all the wonderful things in life that you can gain for yourself without running your own show. And that's my biased opinion. But
Yeah.
it when we're all so good, Mary, at anticipating a vacation, okay,
Yeah.
we plan it, we design it, we wait for it, we, the beach and the suntan lotion and the drink and the umbrella and the beach chair and the whole thing, and we go in and we
I've
anticipate
got it.
that
I'm envisioning it now. I've got it. I'm on my
right.
way.
You smell the copper tone. I mean, the whole 9 yards, right? You begin to anticipate that over a 3 or 4 month period of time, right? Until spring break comes and then we're going to go on vacation. Well, why can't you do that with every part of your life? Why can't you anticipate
Uh,
all the things that come into your life, plan for those things? Because anticipating things is just the most fun way to live. And I just don't think there's any other way to do it.
well, you and I are definitely cut out of that same kind of cloth. Was your father, he was a laborer though. And so you didn't, I had that modeling from my dad. You kind of had to develop that on your own. I think that that is a real skill set. And you give me hope that it can be taught. So how do you go about becoming that entrepreneur, that visionary person? Um, I always thought it was because I had it modeled to me, but you've given me hope that anyone can do this.
Yeah, I think the first thing that you need to do is you need to think about what you want your life to look like. I think that's enormously important. I mean, the visual side of our brain is something that is it's not gifted, it's not automatic. It's something you kind of have to kind of play around with and experiment with a little bit. But I can tell you this, it's free. It requires no training. All you have to do is just put yourself in a place that's nice and quiet and think about, well, what would I want my life to look like if I could draw it out? If I could have my own nirvana. In my book, I call it comfort, peace, and freedom. If I could have those characteristics, what would they manifest themselves into? In
Mm,
other words, you know, can I draw out what my favorite homestead might look like? Can I draw out what my favorite vacation might be? What my favorite transportation might be? What my favorite charity moment might be? My sports, my hobbies, my favorite pet. Can I draw this nirvana that is my life and say, man, if I could live like that,
yeah.
that would be really cool. And the reason it's so important to put that down on paper is you need to look at this once or twice or three times a day in order to get that brain attraction thing to work, those neurons to fire properly to the point where your brain thinks it already owns those things. And then it sets your body in motion to go get those things. It's enormously powerful, Mary.
Yeah.
And most people don't do it. Most people are just, again, they're in this mode of, well, if I get lucky, then my life will be cool. No, that's absolutely wrong. You need to define what cool is first, and then pick one of the many paths there are to get there. I've been doing this my whole life, and have I watched other people? Sure, I've had a few examples of people that live some pretty cool lives, and man, I like the way he did that, or I like the way she
Yeah.
did that, or I like the way they think or she thinks or whatever. You can model yourself after other people. Sure. Why not? Sometimes imitation is the biggest form of flattery, right? But to get your life the way you want it, it's as simple as taking those dreams, those wishes, and those hopes out of your head, putting them down on paper, and now establishing an actual path to getting to those things.
Mm.
I would encourage everyone to try it. It's a wonderful exercise, and you'll be so glad you did.
I love that idea, that creating the visualization. The one of the things I think we lack at this point in time as I look at the younger generation, and I'm sure maybe this is the same thing my parents, um, who actually went through the Depression and went through World War II, thought about me, that I had lost the vision. Okay. But he can get it back. The one thing I encourage people to do more than anything else is to keep dreaming. They think sometimes we've lost the ability to dream, and we just take what life dishes to us and we think this is our lot. This is all that I deserve. This is all I'm going to get. And that, I mean, even though I started my own company at age 30, it wasn't until age 50 that I really began to dream of what I wanted, not just what I was creating on a daily basis, but to dream about it. And that the thing I tell people is to never stop dreaming, that nothing is impossible. And the bigger key is that it's never too late. I'm amazed at the number of people at age 30 who tell me it's too late. Like, really? I didn't climb Kilimanjaro until I was 66. Okay. And so it's never too late. What do I plan yet in my life? I plan on getting to another top of a mountain yet in my life. I have dreams about it. I don't draw the picture, but I like that idea of actually drawing the picture. I will dream it. I will write it down, but the actual drawing of the picture and keeping that in front of me at my computer desk or in my bathroom that I see every morning, I love that idea. I'm going to start drawing a mountain soon.
Well, you got to remember a couple of things. And first off, congratulations on Kilimanjaro. That's unbelievable. I mean, that is fantastic. But when you think of what a dream is like a movie in your head, right? A dream is and a movie in itself. If you ever slow down a movie, it's a series of millions of pictures that are all right next to each other, right? So it's a pictures in motion, like a motion picture, right? So they're all visions. Everything that you've talked about when you're dreaming is you're just looking at pictures in your head. And that's why sometimes when people are trying to tell you something, they'll end the sentence with, Mary, do you see what I mean? Like, I want to go do this, and this. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
What they're asking you to do is to look at the pictures that you have in your head and try to gain those pictures in their head. I mean, you're trying to transfer that across. And so that's why it is so important to do this, because I was talking with, you know who Tony Robbins is. I was talking with his son, Jarek, and he was talking about there's an actual science behind visualization where you see something often enough, something that you want to come into your life. These little electrodes, these little neurons, they fire in your brain. And these are thoughts that you have in your mind trying to visualize these things. The more you see them, the more these electrons or these neurons, they fire faster and faster to the point where it's one conscious thought. When that happens, as I said, your brain now begins to think it already actually owns that thing. And then it sets in motion your body into almost a subconscious path towards gaining that particular thing. Why would you not use the most powerful computer that we know, your own head that you carry around every day? Why wouldn't you use that to move your life forward? Yeah. Because the only other way to live then is to just live reactively. Like, it's cold outside, I got to put my coat on. That's a reaction. I'm not feeling well, so I need to take some medicine. That's a reaction. Why wouldn't you live proactively? Because to your point, you climbing that mountain was a series of steps. Yeah. It was a path you followed. But the hardest step you probably took was the very first one, which is, I'm going to go do this. Yeah. Once you set your body and your mind in motion to saying, I'm going to go do this, I'm not saying it was easy, but certainly the biggest challenge was getting you to the point where you're saying, yeah, I'm going to go do that. Once you have it in motion, it's difficult, but whether that's 5,000 steps or 25,000 steps, you're taking steps to get there, and you're getting closer every time. And the closer you get, the more confidence you have.
And you do it every day.
Pictures. Yeah.
You can't just say, oh, that's my goal, and then look at it again next year. You've got to keep those visualizations and the action of stepping forward every single day. You have to be looking at it and thinking, if I had wanted to climb Kilimanjaro, drew my picture, set my goal, and then put it in a drawer and got it back out next year, I never would have gotten there.
Well, that's a very important point. So there was a study, and this is in the book as well. There was a study done at Virginia Tech. They took 100 people and they said, okay, tell us if you have crystal clear goals. Okay. Only 20 of the 80 did. So they dismissed the 80. They kept the 20. They said, of the 20 people that have crystal clear goals, how many of you have them written down somewhere? It was only 4 people, Mary.
Wow.
So then they said, now, get rid of the 16 people. Of the 4 people that are remaining, how many of you have them posted on the wall somewhere where you can see them every day? Only 1. So
Only
1 out of
1?
100 people, only 1. 1 out of 100 people was willing to go that far. So then they followed those people for 10 years, and that one person made 9 times more money than the rest of them over that 10-year period of time. Now, I have to go back and say this again. You don't need any training to do this. It's free, okay? All it requires is that you sit still and you think, you know what? I am in control of today forward. The rest of my life is totally up to me. So I'm going to draw out what it's going to look like, and I'm going to find ways to get all these things that I want to come into my life. And it's not necessarily the things, Mary, as you know, it's the memories that you get from these things, right? It's not all the cars that I own. It's the things that I do with my brothers racing them, or the places I get to go, or it's the memories I create with those things. But still, those are things that I have had in the forefront of my mind, and everyone's nirvana is different. I mean, we're not all going to chase mega yachts and mansions and rap star careers or be influencers or whatever. But if we all settle in and just focus on that nirvana, man, if I could live like that, Mary, that would be really cool. Draw that out, get it out in front of you, and then allow your body to take you there.
So one of the reasons I haven't climbed another mountain is that I have a problem in my back with L4 and 5, and I don't want to have back surgery. You have just given me a big key. I'm going to draw out my healed back on a piece of paper. I'm going to put it several places, by my computer, by my mirror in the morning, and by my bed at night. And I'm going to visualize my healing, my back. Thank you. I realized the importance of this visualization.
If you think about it, you know, they've taken, this is a really interesting study. They took people and they put them in a basketball court, and they had 3 groups of people, and they had them shoot foul shots, and they kept track of how many they were making. And then the 3 groups of people went away. They took one group and they said, I want you to practice foul shots every single day for 3 weeks and come back. The second group, they said, I don't want you to practice at all. Not even pick up a basketball. The third group, they said, I want you to practice every day for 3 weeks, but I want you to just visualize the ball going into the hoop. Don't pick up a basketball. Just think about it. Just think your way through it. They brought them back. The people who practiced every day only moderately got better. The people who didn't practice got no better. But the people who visualized got 85% better. I mean, it's just you seeing yourself doing something is literally the only way to getting yourself to doing it. And to your health scenario, you know, I'm a huge believer. I do it myself. I'm a huge believer in exosomes and biologics and peptides and stem cells. I do a lot of that proactive stuff. I don't necessarily wait until my joints get really bad. When I start to feel bad, then I start to put those awesome compounds that we have in our own bodies to work. And if it's true that your body replaces itself every 5 to 7 years, then you should be able to heal yourself. You should be able to heal yourself by thinking that way.
I'll have you back on and let you know when I've healed myself.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I hope it works. You know,
I don't just hope it works. I know it's going to work.
Well, again, and if you want to give it some help, you know, put some of those natural compounds in there to help you heal along the way. But yeah, I just love everything about your energy and everything that you're doing. And we are cut from the same cloth because, you've never gotten into your car, backed it out of the driveway, put it in drive, and said, "Where the hell am I going?" I mean, you always have a place that you're going. You do it every day, all day long, and there's just nothing more powerful than seeing it first and then going and getting it.
So, what I wanted to talk about next before we end is this book that you have and your concept that you're trying to talk about in the book. I love all the motivation that you have, but you have a very clear reason for writing this book, and what you see is in front of us now.
Yeah, the book started out as a long letter to my daughter, who was suffering from cancer at the time. She went through a very scary 5 years, and her mother and I were just petrified. And you have a lot of time to think when you're in oncology rooms and
Yeah.
doctors' offices and waiting rooms and all this other stuff. And I thought to myself, if I could write her a letter about what she should be chasing in life, if she's really going to focus and go after something, what would it be? And I just kept coming back to the words comfort, peace, and freedom, which is everyone's personalized version of their own nirvana. Okay. Everyone has their own picture or vision of what this looks like. And comfort, peace, and freedom kind of encompasses that whole thing. If I could live like that, man, that would be really cool. And so the book turned into a series of stories about friends of mine who overcame amazing obstacles to be successful people. And it just ended up, I ended up getting 80,000 words on a piece on 9 or 10 legal pads, a very sore wrist. And then I Googled editors in New York and found an editor, and he found me an agent. The agent found me social media people, and then a book proposal, and then publishers. And I had a bidding war for it at one point, and it was surreal, Mary. I still can't believe it. I'm unbelievably grateful that this process happened. It became a bestseller last fall, and I just, to this day, I just can't believe it.
So it was a letter to your daughter, but what would you say is the overriding topic in this book?
You and only you know what your favorite color is. You and only you know what your favorite everything is. Why are you listening to other people try to craft your life for you? Why are you listening to society's norms and societal expectations? Why are you listening to the only path is this particular path to success? None of that is true. It's never been true, and it isn't true now. So if you and only you know what all of your favorite things in life are, then put that in front of you and follow it. Okay. You're your own best guide as to how you should live your life. You just have to allow yourself the time, the creativity, and the emotional space to sit there and go, okay, I'm going to build this picture. It's like a puzzle. You build the square edges first, and then you start filling in the middle. But you can't build the puzzle without the box. The box has a picture on it. It would be very difficult to build that puzzle without the box. Right. So why aren't we starting out with a box cover for our life, right?
Brilliant.
Let's put that out there first and then start filling in the pieces after that.
I love that concept. And you are such a motivational person. And what makes you the person to write this book is because you have done it. People try and write books about being a life coach or all these other things, and they haven't done it. They're trying to learn their life while they're teaching other people. But you have done this. You've laid out a plan and a motivation and an actual visualization of how to achieve what we see as the best life possible. I love that because that's what my main goal in life is, to be my very best self. And when I am my very best self, then I can help others be their very best self. But not really until then. Until then, I'm just struggling with trying to be my own best self. And if I get one step ahead, then I can say, hey, this looks like a good step. And you're like a gazillion steps ahead. And you're like, I think this could work, guys. Why don't you come along with me? I have included at the end of this podcast, of course, the links to your LinkedIn account, to your website, and then, of course, where you can also buy the book on Amazon. And I hope that everyone continues to check you out. Ken, you have so much to offer. I'm going to buy a copy of your book. I'm going to read it. And then
Thank you.
Would you come back on?
Absolutely. Oh, I'd love to, for sure. I'm actually writing another book now, so it should be done in
Okay.
probably 7 or 8 months. But
All right.
um, yeah, I would love to. You're such a kindred spirit. I could talk to you all day. So, sometimes these podcasts go 35, 40 minutes, and
It's like,
sometimes I could go 2, 3 hours. But yeah, you're an amazing person. I'd love to come back and talk to you again, Mary, anytime.
all right. I'll look forward to it, Ken. In the meantime, I'm going to get your physical address so I can send you a copy of my book. Mine's just a short book. Mine can be read in 4 hours, but it'll give you,
Love it.
we'll read each other's book. We'll talk about what things we have in common because we both have made it happen. I love it.
Let's do it. That'd be great. That's
right.
a great concept. Let's pull that off.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being with us and learning and thinking about how to craft your meaningful life. And until next time, fill your life with joy and love. Namaste.
Crafting a Meaningful Life.